Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Beth. I am a 37-year-old living in the DC area with my husband. And today's video is all about some new launches from Charlotte Tilbury. And every time I say Charlotte Tilbury, I just hear Teresa is dead in my head saying, Charlotte Tilbury. So anyway, that's the energy we're bringing today. But I have the new concealer, the Beautiful Skin Radiant Concealer, which as you can tell from my made up face, I have already applied. And I also have her new powder. This is the Airbrush Brightening Flawless Finish Complexion Perfecting Eye and Face Micro Powder. And of course I have the original Airbrush powder as well in the shade Fair. This is in the shade Fair Medium, by the way, and I have the concealer in the shade 1 Fair. So we have a theme here. So the plan for this video is I'm just going to tell you some things about these two new launches that I find interesting. I'm going to try to resist sharing all the information on the Charlotte Tilbury page because Lord knows there's a lot of it. And I know there have been several reviews out on this product already. I did manage to order the concealer and the powder, I think the first night that they were available for purchase. So I think I paid express shipping for the concealer, and that was like the only item I purchased. But then when the powder launched, I think you got free express shipping on orders over $150. So I went ahead and threw some other products into my basket, including the Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation, which I hadn't tried before. I also got this in the shade 1. It says 1 Neutral on the back. So I applied this as well. I also purchased one of her quads. This is the Exaggerize quad. So it says Bigger, Brighter Eyes Filter, eyeshadows to enhance eye size and sparkle. So I did apply this in the demo portion. So I figured going with the idea of a concealer, kind of lightening, brightening the eyes, I thought that would be something worthwhile to pick up. And I know Lauren May Beauty really enjoys that quad, so I thought I would get that one. And then I think I got like this little pencil sharpener to push me over the free shipping. Surprisingly, it's actually a really nice pencil sharpener. I didn't think it'd be anything different from like the Urban Decay or any other brand, but it really did a good job with the Rock and Coal that I used today in Barbarella Brown. So anyway, that was kind of a nice surprise. And then I got one kind of major free gift. I got some of these like packet samples, the Magic Serum. I also got another sample of her Magic Cream, which I used today, and this Collagen Super Fusion Facial Oil, which I haven't tried, like so. So the main gift I guess I got was this lipstick. So this is the Patsy Red shade. I'm obviously not wearing it today, but anyway, free lipstick. It's not the shade I would have chosen for myself, but okay, so that was what I got from Charlotte Tilbury, and like I said, there is a demo portion at the end of this video, so I try to incorporate as many kind of Charlotte Tilbury products as I could. But let's get back to kind of talking about this concealer. So the concealer retails for $33. She says it's like shapewear for the eyes and face. Interestingly enough, the original concealer that she had launched, the Magic Away, I think Shelly from Geek Out of Water is the only person I've heard speak highly of this. I think she kind of talks about it in terms of having kind of like a smoothing type effect underneath the eyes. I used this in my full face of Charlotte Tilbury last summer, I think. So really I should probably just chuck it at this point. But yeah, the applicator has always been kind of a mess, and I barely used it, and it seems like it's already kind of halfway up there. And the cap and everything is just kind of a pain. Anyway, I had the shades 1 Fair Pale and 2 Fair Pale. But anyway, this one had 1/4 of an ounce of product, and this one said it had 0.13 fluid ounce. So I think you're getting roughly twice the amount of product in the new one, assuming my math is correct. So I'll just quickly swatch these older ones. I mean, they're probably gonna be pretty crusty, but so this was the 1 Fair shade, and then 2 Fair. Yeah, it's just not good. I mean, look how gross that looks, right? And I feel like this is a very, I don't know, kind of fidgety. All right, so this was too fair. I think I might chuck these after this video. And then this one is the new concealer in One Fair, and it looks like it's going to be a lot closer to a little bit more pink though, I think. I mean, it didn't look exceptionally pink underneath the eyes as I was applying it, but compared to that other One Fair, I think it definitely looks peachier. And I will go ahead and just swatch this foundation for you right underneath. I don't have any other, yeah, you can see the foundation and the concealer have a little bit of a different tone, even though they're both one, which is something I'm going to talk about in a second. So anyway, yeah, I don't have any other Charlotte Tilbury foundation products. I did have, was it the Light Wonder or something? The one that was like in a little, I think, kind of shaky tube. That wasn't a good shade match for me. I think it was a little too like peach or pink maybe. So I'm fairly neutral, but a little bit more on the cool side, I think. And I also have dry skin for reference. Okay, so this is supposed to be a medium buildable coverage hydrating concealer with 10% supercharged skincare ingredients to conceal, correct, brighten, and lift the look of your eyes and face. So I just got the lightest shade, obviously, and I put it underneath my eyes. I did also try to conceal this blemish here. So yeah, I just went with the lightest shade to get that kind of brightening effect, but you're supposed to be able to, I guess, get different shades for different purposes on your face if you so desire. Not that you couldn't do that with any other concealer, but anyway. So it does come in 30 shades. One, which is what I have, is fairest with neutral undertones. 2 is one of the fairest shades with pink undertones. And I found it interesting because the Beautiful Skin Foundation, 2 in that is neutral. So that is supposed to be fair skin with neutral undertones. So it's not like a direct one-to-one type comparison, it seems. So I just found that kind of interesting. Yeah, so she claimed 16 hours, and I am not going to do a 16-hour wear test, but I think I should be able to get in an 8 or 9 hour wear test. It's about 3:30 now, but I finished applying the concealer at around 2:30, so I think I'll be able to get to 8 or 9 hours. And yeah, 10% active skincare ingredients, supposed to give you an instant face and eye lift effect. So she says it has hydrating hyaluronic acid, pore refining niacinamide, brightening, radiance boosting golden vitamin C, and vegan collagen to improve the look of your skin every time you wear it. It's supposed to be the power of a concealer and the power of an eye cream. So a couple things. I've said before that, like hyaluronic acid, you want to make sure that it has something other than the moisture already in your skin to grab onto. Otherwise, it's just going to pull moisture out of your skin. So you want to make sure that hyaluronic acid is paired with other hydrating ingredients, or that you're not sort of in an exceptionally dry environment. Pore refining niacinamide. Niacinamide seems to be in everything these days, and as I said in my review of the Kosas Revealer Foundation, if you double up on niacinamide, if it's in too many products at too great a concentration, it can, at least for me, be a little irritating, so just be aware of that. Some people are also sensitive to vitamin C and collagen. It may help with hydration, but it's not going to help the actual collagen of your face when it's applied topically, so just be aware of that. Okay, and of course she has different claims. Dark circles appear reduced by 40%, skin looks smoother and more radiant by 43%. The packaging, so this is the packaging of the foundation and the concealer. It looks like she's trying to market it almost like a skincare product with all these like percentages and everything on it, clinically proven results, etc. So I don't know. You can take that with a grain of salt. I think rely on your actual skincare to give you those kind of major benefits. Yeah, so she says use your facelift effect shade to conceal and smooth the look of discoloration, pigmented, and blemishes. Use your eye lift shade, applying under your eyes to correct and brighten the look of dark circles. And with your contour shade, applied to cheekbones, temples, jawline, and sides of your nose to contour and sculpt the look of your complexion. So I do talk about her Hollywood contour one later in the video. I don't love this because I just find it's a little bit hard to blend out on my skin tone personally. So I use some other contour products. If you did want to invest in multiple Charlotte Tilbury concealers, I suppose you could just use that though. It's supposed to be sweat proof and humidity proof and waterproof. It also has jojoba, sunflower, and mimosa flower waxes. A sumptuous wax blend to leave the skin looking and feeling smoother and more hydrated. Camellia oil is rich in omega-9, helps maintain the skin's natural barrier, leaving skin looking hydrated, plumper, and more youthful. It's rich in emollients, natural mica-based pearls, and she recommends applying using a finger or a brush, which is interesting. So during the demo portion, I basically use a brush to apply most of it and then kind of use a sponge to kind of tap it out. But it did initially, I think, work better with a brush. So it's interesting that that's the application tip. And just for a quick comparison, this other concealer, like I said, I think you're getting less product than the older one. This is $32, so really not that much different in terms of price. And there were only 20 shades in this one. So shade 1 fair that I showed you, that was fairest with neutral undertones. Shade 2 fair was fairest with pink undertones. And that was supposed to be a full coverage product. Okay, so that is it on the concealer. I also have the powder. So this is the Airbrush Brightening Flawless Finish Powder. It is $46. You can purchase the refill for only $41 though. I know, bargain, right? So this comes in 2 different shades. It's supposed to be mostly translucent. So like I said, I have mine in the shade Fair Medium. So if you wanted to, if you were a makeup artist, you could pop these out and put them in some sort of magnetic palette. So I've been talking about having kind of a refillable powder from Charlotte Tilbury for years. So of course we just had this powder up until now. These older compacts, they are not refillable. However, she has finally changed the packaging of this to mimic this so that you will be able to just purchase refills of this powder as well, which I think is amazing. Yeah, I remember when the bronzers came out, which I also demo, I was excited that these were refillable because it kind of spoke of things to come, but it's taken until now to actually get the refills of the powder. I was literally just talking about that in a skincare empties video that I still need to edit and upload because I had an empty powder compact and I was talking about how I wish they were refillable, and now they are. And I believe that powder comes in 4 more kind of complexion shades. So anyway, so this new one is a complexion perfecting translucent powder to brighten, blur, and lift the look of your eyes and face. And it says it's a micro pressed powder for brighter airbrush looking skin in seconds, inspired by my award-winning 3 sold every minute Airbrush Flawless Finish powder. She calls it a brightening filter for eyes and face, and it's supposed to reduce the look of dark circles by 71%. So what I did today in my demo is I used the same Charlotte Tilbury corrector underneath each eye, and I also used the new concealer under each eye, but I used one of these powders on one side of my face and one of these powders on the other. So go ahead and place your bets as to which side is which powder. You can also just tell me which one you think looks better. So just for reference, this is my left side and this is my right side. So left, right. Left, right. And I am wearing the bronzer from her, like I mentioned. I'm wearing her Pillow Talk blush, which I know has a little bit of shimmer, and I'm also wearing this highlighter. So this cheek region probably has a little bit of that shimmer going on each cheek, but anyway. So she also says that skin is supposed to look brighter by 81%, smoother by 83%, 94% agree it lifts the look of the complexion. 98 agree that the skin looks instantly brighter. So I thought this was also interesting. She said that it was printed with an iconic winged monogram inspired by Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. So that's nice. Yeah, brightening complex, light bounce technology. And again, this has golden vitamin C, vegan collagen, hyaluronic acid, magical microspheres. Is there anything that isn't magical with Charlotte Tilbury? Emollient esters for a softer than silk texture, soft focusing silica, silky mica. It does contain talc, but it is vegan friendly. You can focus on eyes with any darkness, such as under the eyes and along smile lines. Supposed to blur. Oh, so this is interesting. So she says to boost the brightening, smoothing, soft focusing effect, layer Airbrush Brightening Flawless Finish Powder over Charlotte's award-winning Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. So you could go in with both if your skin can handle it. And you can also focus this on the high points of the face, the cheekbones, forehead, nose, and jawline, I guess, to have like a subtle highlighted and lifted effect. So that is all for the kind of description. So I already filmed a little short kind of comparing these, but I'll go ahead and swatch them again. When you swatch it, put your finger in it, you can feel the kind of pan kind of move around with your finger because it's just magnetized, unlike these, which I assume are glued. So yeah, I would say the texture on the new one, which is this one, does feel a little bit finer. The other one feels maybe a tad creamier. So those are the two swatches there, which is very interesting. I'm just kind of blending those out a tad. Yeah, I'm glad she came out with at least 2 shades of the brightening powder because I don't think there's any way that white powder would have worked on a deeper complexion. All right, so I think that's it for now. Let's go ahead and get into the demo. All right, so let's jump into the demo. So I have already applied my moisturizer and sunscreen. I also applied an eye cream, and I did have little samples of the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream and the Magic Eye Rescue. So I applied both of these just for the sake of this video. So my dry skin feels, I'd say, pretty hydrated without feeling overly dewy at this point. And that is the kind of texture of the eye cream. And for sunscreen, I applied my Tula Mineral Magic. So that is what I have going on for the base. So let's go ahead and apply some Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter, just because. So I'm just going to swipe a bit of this on. I have the shade 1 Fair. Obviously I have that little face demon to contend with today. All right, so I'm just gonna blend this out with a Real Techniques brush. There was a time when, you know, I'd have a blemish or something and I didn't want to film, but, you know, especially for videos like this where we're assessing complexion products, it's actually, I think, helpful to have something to conceal. Obviously, my under eyes definitely need some help. Okay, so that is it for the base. So for the first kind of under eye product, I'm going to use my Charlotte Tilbury corrector under both eyes. I always use a corrector, so that is what that looks like, and just make sure that there isn't anything weird going on. So since we're already kind of comparing the powders, I'm going to apply the corrector under both eyes. I generally wear a corrector anyway under any concealer, so this is just kind of my normal step. So for me, I don't think it'd be a fair review if I all of a sudden just wore a concealer without a corrector. And then for foundation, I am trying out the Beautiful Skin foundation for the first time. I have it in the shade 1 Neutral. This is obviously not a new product, but since I was ordering from Charlotte Tilbury anyway, I just wanted to give this a shot and kind of see how it plays with the concealer. So it's, I think, pretty well mixed because it's new, but all right, so that is the shade. I believe this is the lightest shade they make, and it is like a neutral shade. I think they do have, is it like 4 cool? So it'll be interesting to see how this does. All right, so I'm just gonna blend that out with a sponge. And I think just based on the photos of the concealer, it looked like one was going to be the best for me in that product. So I figured getting this shade was probably gonna be the best. My brain gets a little confused sometimes when I look at myself because I think my face is actually more yellow than my neck and my hands for whatever reason. So I think it's actually a decent shade match for my face. It does have kind of a slightly sticky texture, which if you have super oily skin, you might not enjoy. I think this is the same shade that Khaki from Khaki Reviews Beauty. I'm getting my hair in it. All right, well, we'll figure that out later. I think this is the same shade that Khaki wears. And she is close to my skin tone, but I think she is a smidge more like yellow, warm toned. That area of my face always, or sometimes has problems kind of settling. Yeah, so she is, I think, a smidge more yellow and maybe a hair darker. I don't know if I like it with the brush. I mean, that is the same brush that I used for the Flawless Filter, but I'm just gonna quickly pat to make sure everything is blended in. I think I might have just wiped away some of the corrector. So yeah, so far I don't hate it. I'm just not really sure about this shade. So I do have a fair bit left on my hand here, so I'm just gonna let that sit for a second, and I'll swatch the concealer next to it. So again, this is in the same shade 1 Fair. And, oh, my eyes are watering. All right, so that is the concealer in the tube. I've heard people say that this is on the lighter side. So that's 1 Fair in the foundation and 1 Fair in the concealer. So I'd say they definitely went lighter on this one. I think still has a slight yellow kind of tint to it though. All right, so I'll remember to just do one eye, remove any excess product from my concealer brush. All right, so I'm gonna apply it with the brush on the side. Yeah, I think this is still a texture that I'll want to tap in with a sponge. I think you can kind of see the like brush strokes basically. So if I take my sponge, it's not a clean sponge, so maybe a clean sponge would do better, but yeah, I don't think that removed too much coverage. Let's zoom back out so you can kind of get the full effect. Definitely brightening. I think I saw Patty Alonso's video, and I think her initial reaction was that it looked quite like radiant, luminous underneath her eyes. And she also has dry skin. So I think, I'm trying to recall. I know she likes the, that's doing some weird blending things underneath there. Oh, it's weird. I feel like it's breaking up as I'm trying to blend it out with the sponge. So in full disclosure, I did use my, where were they? My Lumify eye drops before filming so that my eyes would be nice and bright. And I don't think I had any residual like of the eye drops coming out, but my eyes were definitely watering a second ago, so. All right, so I think it almost seems to work better if you use a brush, at least initially, and then maybe tap it out with a sponge. Is kind of what I'm thinking. And like I said, I do have this blemish. It's not open or anything, so I'm just gonna tap directly on it. I think they mentioned that this doe foot is supposed to kind of be good for that purpose. Like you have, you know, it comes to a very fine point. I think I recall them saying anyway. Okay, so let's see. A lot of times with blemishes, I just kind of like to tap so I kind of keep the coverage. And ideally with blemishes, you want to get as close to your actual skin tone as possible, or your foundation tone, so that you aren't kind of highlighting the blemish. All right, sorry for the in and out if you have any orientation issues. Okay, so it is kind of starting to crease, and I'll kind of talk about fixing that in a moment when we set, but just wanted to point that out to you. All right, so before I powder, I'm gonna go in with my contouring step, and I do have the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand, but I'm not the biggest fan of that, to be honest. I also need to do my brows. I'm gonna use the Charlotte Tilbury Legendary Brows Micro Precision Tinted Brow Gel, and it always throws me because the wand is in the longer side. I don't remember this being anything sort of remarkable, but I figured I might as well try to do a full face of Charlotte Tilbury. So for contour, what I prefer to the Charlotte Tilbury, I like to use the Fenty Matchstick on my nose. And then underneath my jaw and on my cheeks, I use the KVD. I'm thinking about picking up the new Milani contour, which looks to be kind of similar to the Charlotte Tilbury, although the Milani has more shades, which is a plus. Milani also came out with like a highlighter, cream highlighter wand with the sponge tip, so that looks like it could be similar to the Spotlight. And I usually blend up with this contour. I'm trying to just kind of tap it out as opposed to really, you know, removing that coverage, but I'm not sure there's much I can do about that spot, really. Such a weird random blemish. All right, so time for the moment of truth with the two powders. So this is at least my second, if not my third one of these. I think it might be my third. And one thing I've always noticed is that obviously I've hit pan. I haven't been using it that often, but I think it's just one of those powders where it tends to kind of kick up a lot of powder. So you just seem to go through it more quickly. Let's see, this is 8 grams of product, and this LYS powder is only 6.5 grams. And I have been using this one quite a lot. I think you can kind of see a bit of a dip there, but nowhere near to hitting pan. Okay, so I think I'll do the old powder on my left side. I like to use those kind of mnemonic memory tricks. So the finish so far is kind of interesting. Like, it looks very shiny on camera, and I feel like I do need to set the face anyway. I could probably handle not setting the under eyes just for the pure finish of it, but I'm going to proceed. All right, so that is kind of what came up on this little brush that I have. And just do a little tap right there. All right, so this is the old powder. And I'll just keep powdering kind of the rest of the face. So it is a nice powder, and I do have dry skin. So I don't know if you can see there just what that little kind of dip did in terms of the powder kick up. So again, just kind of getting that much, and just try to stick to this side of the forehead. All right, so that is the old side. That is the unset side. So I'm gonna use my Sigma switch just to make sure that, you know, I got off as much of the residual powder as possible, so there's no kind of contamination or anything. And then the new powder. So I did kind of a little short unboxing this, but basically I always go in from the bottom because there's usually a sticker on Charlotte Tilbury products on the top, so it's just easier to go in through the bottom, basically. Okay, so this is what the compact looks like. I can tell you it's much easier to photograph, and they are basically the same dimensions. This one is obviously more reflective. And this one is refillable, so you can already purchase through refills. Like I mentioned, I think you only get maybe a like $5 price break on the refills, but like I said, I have gone through multiples of those, so I always feel bad just throwing away the compact. So, all right, so let's try and get the same. Okay, so that's what picked up. So far, yeah, I guess I am seeing a little bit of kick up. I used this once before, I think, during that little short. All right, so let's see how this does on this eye. I always kind of go underneath to make sure I don't have any creases. Yeah, I'd say it does look brighter. I have obviously pretty fair skin, so having a like white powder, I mean, it's supposed to be translucent, but if there is any sort of cast, it's not going to show up as much as it would on someone with darker skin. Okay. So that is the new powder. I think it did kind of lighten my complexion a little bit. Did lighten the under eye. So I think for like a pure kind of color correction, I think it helped. I think the old powder looks a little bit more kind of matte. Trying to see, you know, where the light catches. And I do have dry skin, but I think, you know, there's definitely more kind of light bouncing off this side. I think it kind of also highlights texture though a little bit. So if you do have more texture, you may want to stick with the older powder. So I like it, it's just different. It has a different effect. So yeah, really interesting. So I think from here on out, I'm only applying kind of older products. So I think I'll go ahead and film it, but I'll just speed through it and put some music on it. And then I will check back at the end of the night to give you the wear test results and give you my final thoughts. Okay, so here I am applying the Charlotte Tilbury powder bronzer in the shade 2 with the Rephr 22 brush. Just kind of pouncing that up on the forehead and the cheeks. And then using the Refer number 5 brush with the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk blush. And then using the Charlotte Tilbury highlighter with a little Wayne Goss brush. And then applying the Fenty eyelid primer on the eyes and blending that out with the fingers. And then I'm setting that primer with the same powders that I featured earlier in the video, so I'm kind of keeping to the same side that I did earlier. And then going in with this Exaggerized Quad, I am starting to apply the crease matte shade with a little Sonia G brush, and you can see I kind of go back and forth trying to get the right mix of blended and intensity. So here I am blending it out with a clean MAC 224 brush. And then on the lower lash line, I am adding some dimension with the Sonia G Flat Definer brush. And that is one of my favorite tips to prevent creasing underneath the eyes, is to apply shadow to the lower lash line. I think it helps a lot. And then also going in with the bronzer shade that I used earlier. So another great tip is to use your bronzer kind of as a shadow to help things kind of blend out. And I thought that matte shade just needed a little bit of help to get it closer to my skin tone and kind of help it blend out a little bit. So yeah, so going back and forth between blending with the MAC brush and then adding more dimension. And because my eyelids are hooded, I like to make sure that I have some of the shadow in the upper corner there to kind of help things look lifted. So going in with the shimmer shades with a Refer 28 brush. Going in with the lighter shade here. And then I just swatched the shades really quickly to see what they were like. And I decided to use that sparkly shade and press it all over the eyelid. So here I am applying the Charlotte Tilbury Rock and Coal eyeliner in the shade Barbarella Brown. So running that along the lash line and then smudging it out with the little BK angled brush. And then I like to take the brush and run it on the eyeliner itself to pick up some product and just make a tiny little wing on the corner, again, to help the eye be lifted. And there I was impressed with the performance of that pencil sharpener, like I mentioned. So again, doing the same technique on the other eyelid. And then applying the Clinique Bottom Lash Mascara. Curling my lashes with the Refer Lash Curlers. And applying the Tarte Lights Camera Splashes Mascara. And then I'm applying the Charlotte Tilbury lip liner in the shade Iconic Nude, lining the lips and filling it in. And then I am going to use the Pillow Talk lipstick. First, I'm using my beauty blender to make sure there isn't a gap between the lip line and the foundation. And then here I am applying the Collagen lip gloss in the shade Peachy Plump. And I'm back. So it's the end of the night. It's about 10:45, and I think, like I said, I kind of finished the concealer application around 2:30, so that would put us a little over the 8-hour mark, which admittedly is not, you know, a full day, but I think it's a pretty good test run for these products. So as you can tell, I did put my glasses on watching TV, so there's a little bit of makeup worn off on the nose pads, not too bad. I just put the glasses on for a few hours watching TV, and I didn't kind of apply any more powder or specifically kind of powder the nose bridge or the cheeks like I would if I knew I was going out and wearing my sunglasses or something like that. So I have reapplied my lip oil, but I haven't touched up anything else on my face. And as you can tell, I'm definitely looking fairly shiny, especially in the T-zone. I would say the side with the older version of the powder, like in my cheek area, still looks more matte. I think there's a little bit more radiance and shine on this side. One thing I did want to mention, which you might have seen in the application kind of speed through I did use the powders to set my primer. I used the Fenty primer, and surprisingly, I stuck with the same side. So this would have been the old powder. So I can see a tiny bit of creasing maybe on that side. It's hard to do this with, keeping my eyes closed, but to me anyway, it looks like there is a little bit more creasing like right in here on that eye. Still not terrible, but I do always use an eye primer. So I typically don't deal with terrible creasing on my eyelids, but I just thought it was interesting that I did use those two different powders to set the primer to help things blend. And I do kind of notice a difference in wear. I don't always use a face powder to set my primer. Sometimes I just use like a cream shadow, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. I also thought it was interesting, so again, this is the original powder, this is the new powder, and I think you can see there is, I think, a little bit more visible creasing on this side. This under eye, I can kind of see one crease. I think the camera's struggling a bit today for some reason. Underneath this eye, it looks like, I did notice this one crease here. And I think that only kind of showed up halfway through the day. So yeah, very interesting kind of difference there in wear. Let's zoom back out. I think overall I'm looking quite shiny. So let's use the original powder and touch up on my left side. I'm just going to kind of touch up on my forehead, around the chin. And again, this is the first kind of touch up I've done at the 8-hour mark. And other than turning off the air conditioning to film, I haven't gone out or anything like that, so it's been a pretty low activity day, I guess you could say. All right, so knocking off any excess, and I'll do the same. Ooh, yeah, I am starting to kind of kick up a bit more powder here. All right, so let's see how this does to touch up. And I think right there you can see a pretty stark difference in the tone, which is interesting. If you see any like little flecks, I think that's just fallout from the eyeshadow, so that wouldn't be a result of the powder, that's just the eyeshadow. So, the general kind of lightness and effect on the skin is the powder, but any specific micro, sparkles or whatever you see is the eyeshadow. All right, so that is, how things look being touched up after 8 hours. Would I recommend these products? Honestly, I'm gonna say no. And I have a couple reasons for that. One is, I think even on my skin tone, it does read brighter, so I can only imagine what it might look like if you have a deeper complexion. My preference, I think, would be just to have a smoother under eye, and if it's the same color as my cheeks and the rest of my face, like, I'm okay with that. I can get a brightening effect from my corrector and my concealer. I would rather have like an overall smoother effect than have something that may look a little bit lighter, but I think kind of almost exacerbates this kind of hollow underneath my eyes and creases more. I think that ends up aging me more than just having kind of a smoother under eye, even though it is brighter. And I think for the face, I prefer the original as well. I think the concealer itself was fine, And the foundation as well, like it's definitely looking pretty kind of dewy by the end of the night. It feels a little heavy compared to some others I've tried, which doesn't surprise me given the texture of the foundation. I don't absolutely hate it. Maybe during the winter I'll like it more if I want something a little bit more moisturizing, a little bit more hydrating and nourishing. I'm not sure how my shade will look in the winter if my skin tone kind of veers a little bit more pink when I get less sun than I do now. So one thing I remembered reading about this new product is that she suggests layering this over this powder, so I might give that a try tomorrow potentially is what I'm thinking, because I am curious to see how they work together. Yeah, so I'm curious how that looks because I've already obviously purchased this, but I'm not sure how many people would want to have two powders for their makeup application, either due to the expense of purchasing two powders or just the fact that you're kind of employing another step in your routine. So I'm not sure whether it would be reason enough to purchase this powder, assuming it works well, we'll see. As it stands now though, I would definitely recommend going with the original over this one if you were only to choose one. I'm curious to see whether she will eventually come out with the mini in this product because she does have a mini in this product. So that's a great way to just try the formula if you're not completely sure about it. I don't think the mini is refillable, but you know, you can only ask for so much, I think. Or I guess you could just try purchasing the pan itself and putting it in a magnetic palette. Yeah, I do love it when a high-end brand makes minis of its products. So this full size is $45, the mini is $25, and you get 3.4 grams versus 8 grams. So you're getting a little less than half. It's a little more than half in terms of cost, but generally you get a better value if you buy a bigger, if you buy more product. Yeah, the refills of this is $41, so it's the same price as the brightening powder. All right, so that is going to do it for this review and wear test. I hope you guys found this helpful in deciding whether to pick up this new powder. I feel a bit like Harvey Two-Face having this kind of line down the middle of my forehead, but anyway, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this and found it helpful. If you did find it helpful, please make sure to subscribe before you go. I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.